Good afternoon. YusefWateef back in the game. I wanted to talk to you and share with you something that has come up personally and in my social circles. I might have to tell a few stories, so stay with me on this one. Everyone I know, men in particular, because we are less emotional and then have to even further overcompensate and become even far removed from emotion than that. Everybody wears this mask or proclaims to wear this mask, this iron die-hard mask that says, I'm the same person all the time, no matter who, no matter what, no matter when. And that's just not true. We like to believe it of ourselves, that regardless of what situation we're in, we're the same person, but we're not. And I'll tell you how this came up for me. And I hope this helps you. Oh, and by the way, make sure you click subscribe, the bell, and the like button, especially the subscribe button. That's really important. I appreciate everybody that's helped this channel grow. This channel, we talk about, 1/3 of the time we talk about money, investments, cryptocurrency, saving money. Another 1/3 of the time we talk about world travel, sometimes my life in Brazil. And about another 1/3 of the time we talk about social issues and things that come up in life. So if what I'm doing today isn't for you, that's okay. Click subscribe anyway and give it a month. If after that month you say, hey, Wateef really isn't talking about anything that is for me, shoot me a message and let me know, but feel free to unsubscribe. I think I've had 2 unsubscribers. The situation came up when someone was referred to me, as all my business is. Someone was referred to me and I got a message that says, let's talk. During the course of the discussion, the conversation popped up, and lo and behold, he brought up something that was truly egregious, something awful that I did. Let me be clear, I did this thing. And he said, you destroyed a couple of lives with the action that you took. And I said, yeah, I did. And he looked at me because I think he was prepared for some kind of a bob and weave and no, I'm a good person, and the person that referred you to me knows I'm a good person. I didn't want to run with that narrative. The narrative I gave him is that, hey, Art of Becoming More popped in. Good afternoon, and thanks for taking time out of your day to hang out with me and some of my stories. And he broke down the details and asked me if what he'd been told was true. And about 80% of it was. The 20% he didn't know was even worse than the 80% he did, because some people were embarrassed at some of the things that I had to do to them. And when I looked at him and said, is the person who referred you to me has known me just as long as these other people, and professionally as well. The trick is, he and I have never been in a situation where he's looked at me and behaved in a way that they behave towards me. Thus, he's never seen me be that guy. It's kind of like when a lot of guys who are known for smashing heads have this girlfriend who looks at him and goes, him, buttons? He wouldn't hurt a mouse. Well, he works hard for her to never see that part of him. He doesn't like to be that person unless it's someone that needs to see that part of him. And we sat down and I talked about what happened. I said, now listen, if you firmly believe that a situation is going to come up with you along the same vein as the situation that came up with them, I want you to tell me that. I want you to say, listen, I think the same thing may happen between us. So I really don't want to do anything with you because we may get into that situation. But if not, if you can say, hey, I'm not going to delve into the cesspool of human behavior the way they did, well, then you don't have anything to worry about. We all like to believe that when we meet someone and we dislike them, let's go the opposite direction. We meet someone and we think, you know what, this person is just complete filth. But then we meet a bunch of other people that really like that person. We go, him? No. Well, what if everybody was correct? What if the person that they are to you, because they don't like you either, is totally different from the people who they met in a different social situation, in a different professional atmosphere? What if that person was telling the truth, but it's the truth you didn't want to hear because nobody wants to hear that their perception wasn't correct. Damon 23. Good afternoon, my friend. Thanks for joining us. I hope you get to go back to the beginning a little later. We've been going over some stuff. I'm kind of digging in today. Another answer that I get is, and this is something I've heard men say, but I've heard men say more just because 99.99% of all my friends are men. I don't have many friends that are women. We can go over that another time. I just don't find that a useful thing. Men like to tell the world that I'm going to treat these women the same way, no matter what, no free passes, stomp down, I'm going to keep my foot on her neck, blah, 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 male ego, male ego. I've got one too. When I was younger, I'm not old, but I'm 42 and a half, and I've seen enough of the world, enough countries in the world, and enough human behavior to be able to recognize some of the things I did when I was younger, correct those to get more and better results. I hear these guys, they tell me, and it's scary if it's after, say, 30. We're going to have another discussion on when men hit the wall at 30. We need to have a talk about that one day. And they talk about how I'm going to treat all these women the same. And I said, well, first of all, just by pretending to practice that behavior, you're losing out on a lot. And two, you're not. You see, we don't want to admit that the 20-something-year-old girl with no kids, education, that laughs at my stupid jokes will get treated far better than her corollary who's not any of those things. We want to pretend that we treat them all the same. No, you don't. No, you don't. Women know we're not even that clever. They let us believe that nonsense. Well, he treats all women the same, blah, blah, blah. No, he doesn't. I've seen too many women get angry when they realize the way that he treated her was totally different. Like the prop was totally different from the way he treated another woman without taking into consideration what was the situation she was in versus the other girl when he met her. Because I guarantee they weren't equals. Equality doesn't exist anywhere in the world. I mean, we can have another conversation about that later. I hate to break hearts. But what I want to get at is, at what point, I'm not even sure when I took the mask off and said, I can't be the same person to everyone. I have to treat people as individuals. If you treat me well, I'll treat you well. If you do me a solid, I'll go over and out above and beyond to do something good for you. But the reverse is also true. I'm a horrible person. I'm spiteful, vindictive. I carry grudges. I know this about myself. Very few people do, because something else that I've learned to do is control my environment. The people that I hang around, the friends in my circle. I don't allow myself to be around people who could even potentially turn to the kind of people that I would have to have a awkward situation with, let's say. When we look at ourselves in the mirror, particularly men, we like to see stones. We like to see these hardcore images that are unshaken by battle. Well, newsflash, even the oldest warriors throughout history wore masks. Why? Because you don't let the enemy know that they've shaken you. What a lot of people do, and I'm going to show you some warrior masks. What a lot of people do is they tell themselves, I'll be a more fierce warrior if I wear a mask and I don't let anybody see what's going through, and I act like I'm going to have the same hardcore attacks and defenses no matter what. I'm going somewhere with this. I want you to stay with me. First, I'm going to give you Exhibit A. Boom. Throughout history, how many cultures had masks? Not helmets, mind you. Masks, so that when you're in battle, that's what they see. This is a famous one from the movie 300, The Immortals. This is the ultimate warrior. Wrestling throwback. But those things are terrifying until I look at the people who didn't wear the mask. They became the mask. I haven't had the privilege of living in New Zealand yet. The closest I got was having a few friends that were New Zealanders when I lived in Australia. I'm probably butchering that spelling. It'll correct me. That's a mask. That's when you become the mask. It's not carved out of stone or wood. That's the flesh looking you in the eye and saying, here is what's about to happen, and it's not good. When you can get to that level, even without the ink, even if the ink is only in your heart and your soul, when you can look at the world and say, here's what I am all the time, and this is what you're going to deal with, you get to a totally different, just such a different level. Such a different level. And for the record, I do not advocate anyone getting any culture's tattoos anywhere on their body if it's not a culture you came from. Appropriation is a real thing. I've seen a lot of people end up in embarrassing situations where they have something that when questioned, they can't explain or defend, and they have no idea why, and they just look like a fool. Please don't be that person. Don't be that person. This was an introspective day for me because it was one of the few times when someone's come to me and said, here's a negative behavior that you exhibited, and I'm going to look at you and give you the opportunity to back out and see what he was hoping in his heart of hearts, in the businessman's heart, was for me to give him a way out, to say, oh, that thing you heard about me, that's not true. And I would be lying and he would know I was lying. But it would make the situation calmer and easier. He was hoping for excuses, magic fairy dust. I wasn't thinking in my right mind, like the Twinkie defense when I believe Howard Milk was shot. They let his murderer get off with the Twinkie defense. Google that, know your history. Groups of minorities of all sorts have been murdered all over the world. Don't get stuck in just yours. And I wouldn't let him off the hook. I made him sit there and squirm in that chair uncomfortably as I described in graphic detail the steps I took to dismantle someone's life. Legally, justifiably, with documentation. And I said, here's exactly what they did to earn that. Now, I'm okay with dealing with the consequences of my behavior. The problem is when someone hears about me, they tend to believe whatever they were told instead of questioning, why did he behave this way to you? When someone goes to a friend and says, hey, that guy Watt, he really helped me out. He's a great guy. And then they come to me, perhaps they come to me differently. Perhaps they come to me with their hand out. Perhaps they come to me begging instead of offering to become part of a deal with me. And they wonder why I said no to them. Well, because the other person that came to me said, hey, I don't want you to pick me up off the ground. Here's some of what I've done, and I want you to help me polish it. People here know I do, for one example, I'm an editor, copy editor, copywriter, proofreader, ghostwriter. I write resumes. And while I give this part of the story, I'm gonna show you what I'm talking about. I can't tell you how many people have come to me and said, listen, I have this business idea. If you'll just write the sales copy for me, we'll split the profits later because you're really good at this writing thing, come well referred, and you helped my friend. And I said, well, do you realize that when your friend and I went into business together, I got a few points off the deal? I got a small percentage of that. For anyone who wants to connect with me professionally as well, you can always email me or LinkedIn. This is my name, YusefWateef Thornton. I'm the same person everywhere. I'm who I am in front of the camera and in person. And I tell everyone, don't just look at my resume. You've heard this before. Don't just look at my resume. Skip the resume. I want you to go all the way down. The important part that everyone should look at is here. This is where you have your recommendation. This is where other business professionals tell you how professional I am, how good I am to work with, what my professional acumen is. They'll tell you that I am someone who can be relied upon. Look at what other businessmen say about me before you look at what my resume says about me, especially when it comes to something professional. There we go. I really needed to share this with you. And when I go online, I don't really have to have a certain length. I want to talk with you guys as long as necessary to get my point across. And more importantly, I hope I plant seeds. I hope that you guys sit around a table with your friends who you should point to my YouTube channel and tell them to go subscribe and have conversations, even if you don't want to talk about it in the comments. And I'd appreciate it if you did. When can we get to that point? Can anyone get to that point? Can we all get to this point where we don't wear the mask anymore? Where we say, you know what, I'm just going to have to go with the emotion on my face at the time, because if it's someone who comes to me, I need to take into account their situation. I gave an example with men earlier. I'll give you the example with women. I know women that treat all men the same way, and they completely overlook the fact that maybe the guy in front of them wasn't the guy they made a mistake with last time, and that maybe he should be given a little, oh, thanks, BK from the Rockies, coming in with the save. I appreciate you advocating.